Oh my god. Okay. Ooh. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new, if you're not new, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marina and today I am back with another book video, and I think this is my first video of the year by the time I put this out. So happy new year everyone. I hope that this year is good for you. I'm expecting this year to be really good for me. I hope that this video is a good start to the year. I'm actually very excited to do this because last year when I did this, it was actually one of my favorite videos to do. I'm gonna be tier ranking every single book that I read in 2022. I read a significantly less amount of books this year than I did in 2021, and I noticed that, but I'm not really mad about it because I still reached my reading goal. I read exactly 50 books this year, and I'm going to be talking about each of them in this and ranking them and giving my opinions. And yeah, I'll also be including the books I read in November and December. So instead of doing a November and December book wrap up, I'm just gonna briefly talk about how I felt about the books in here. And yeah, it's gonna be a good, fun, great time. Yeah, let's just get into this. Okay, so if I'm going to explain my tier rankings, they're kind of okay, you won't understand this unless you're on TikTok, but do you guys know like that Dance Moms sound of Abby like telling the girls where they are on the pyramid? I kind of I based my tier ranking off of that sound on TikTok. So let's start from the bottom. So I think she was mentioning like Kendall here, like you were good, I'm waiting for you to be great. This is an Abby Lee Miller's voice. I can never pull it off. It's my voice is not that annoying, but yeah, that's like the bottom tier. And then the second tier is you didn't stand out to me. Yeah, just for books that didn't stand out, but they weren't bad. They didn't stand out to me personally. And then third was you were good, third overall high score. I think she was talking about Nia here. Sorry, I love Dance Moms. This is so funny to me. And then she didn't really say anything for the fourth person, but I said great, but not top tier because that's how I feel about this slot. And then on top of the pyramid, once again, and then she says Maddie. These are for the books that obviously were my favorite this year. Top of the pyramid. They can't be touched by anyone else in the pyramid. Okay, so the first book that we have here is a book that I read during the summer, a Cuban Girl's Guide to Tan Tomorrow. I actually thought that it was a good, like I didn't think anything of it when I finished it. Like I thought it was a cute, cozy read, but I wasn't like amazed by it. The only reason I read it was because the movie comes out soon with Maya Rethiko and Kit Connor, which I'm very excited about. So the whole entire time while I was reading the book, I was just imagining them as the main characters, and I was living. But the book itself was okay. Actor Age Eve Brown. This was great. I love the Brown Sisters trilogy. I finally finished it this year when I read Actor Age Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. Like I said, I love all the books, so I went in knowing I was going to love it, but it's just not top tier material. I still think my favorite in the series that would be on top of the pyramid if I read it this year is Danny's book. Okay, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. On top of the pyramid. Yeah, it's one of those books that I look back at with fondness that I always want to reread. I read this at the beginning of the year this year, and it still has left such like an impact on me. Like when I think of my favorite books I think I've ever read, I think it's Archer's Voice. Like it's just such a comfort read for me, especially during the time when I read it. Just so good. Okay, now we have a series, Ice Planet Barbarians 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna put the first one here. It didn't stand out to me out of all the 3 books that I read. It wasn't terrible, it just didn't stand out of all the books. This is going in bottom tier. You were good, I'm waiting for you to be great. It wasn't good, to be honest, but I didn't like the second book. It's my least favorite out of the 3. And then Barbarian Lover, you were good, third overall high score. This book was probably, it is my favorite one. And I don't know how the others in the series can top that one for me. Granted, there are like at least 20 other books in the series of Ice Planet Barbarians, but if I ever get to them, then I'll read those. But I really do think that Barbarian Lover can't be topped. I think that the relationship between the girl and the alien guy was the most genuine out of the 3 couples that I read from. Next, we have Blackout by multiple authors, just to name a few. Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angela Thomas, you know, the iconic Black authors, specifically the ones that write YA novels. They all wrote this one book a few years ago and I read it and I really liked it. It was such a cute, wholesome read, and yeah, it just made something in my heart happy when I finished it. It's definitely one of my favorite reads of this year, along with Blood Like Fate. That's how you end a duology. That's how you make it into an amazing story. LaSalle Sandbury, your pen was penning. If you guys don't know what Blood Like Fate is, it is the 2nd book in the Blood Like Magic duology. The book came out this year. I got a chance to read it and I was not disappointed. Because with duologies, like, it's either hit or miss. Like, sometimes the story ties up, but it ties up too quickly, or it's just not the most satisfying ending. But Blood Like Fate ended the story perfectly for every single character. I'm so happy. Okay, yeah, it's on top of the pyramid. And so is Bloodmarked, another great sequel that I read this year. The sequel to Legendborn, in the Legendborn cycle. I think about this book every day. Every day since I've read it. If you want to check out the reading blog for it, go ahead. Okay, so Circe is also one of my favorite reads of this year. I read a lot of good books that I actually liked this year, which I'm really happy about. Circe is one of them, and I had a feeling it was going to be one of them because I loved Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and Madeline Miller wrote Circe. So I was like, okay, it's obviously going to be in my TBR, and I finally got to it after I finished Song of Achilles like over a year ago. So yeah, it was really, really good. I honestly think I like Circe more than Song of Achilles. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I think that's the case for me. Empire of the Vampire. You were good. 3rd overall high score. Now, I love the characters of Empire of the Vampire, but when it came to the actual story, I feel like J. Kristoff made it way too long, and it didn't need to be that long. Like, the premise itself was really good in my opinion. I know that there are a lot of like polarizing opinions when it comes to this book or just J. Kristoff in general, but I think I really liked the book. I just wish that it was shortened down like a few hundred pages because it didn't need to be that long. Like, at some points in the book he was really dragging it for no reason. Another good vampire book that I really did like though is Fangs. This is a graphic novel by Sarah Anderson about a relationship between a werewolf and a vampire, and it's just so wholesome, so cute. It's just like a quick little graphic novel. I read it in like a span of I think 10 minutes, maybe 15. It was just really, really cute, and I go back to it every once in a while to like read one of the comics in case like I'm in the mood for something sweet and wholesome. Another graphic novel that I love, oh my god, let's talk about one of my favorite series of this year, Heartstopper. So I'm just gonna save the time and just put like every single one of them up here and on top of the pyramid, because they are, each of these are on top of the pyramid, every single one, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and I'm assuming the 5th one is going to be in top of the pyramid too when I get to that in 2023, because the last volume of Heartstopper comes out in 2023, and I'm so sad. It's like a bittersweet feeling, but I really do enjoy this series, and yeah, I think this series kind of changed my life this year. I'm not even trying to be dramatic or joking. Like, I really do love this Heartstopper series. On to another amazing read. Oh, I put it in the middle of Heartstopper, my bad. Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. It's on top of the pyramid. Again, one of the best romances I read this year. If you couldn't tell, I was on like a big romance kick this year. I barely read any fantasy, but I think it paid off because a lot of the like romances that I read this year were so good. Icebreaker, I'm gonna need this series to like come out back to back. Like, I'm not trying to rush Hannah Grace's pen or anything, but this couple is a little bit too excellent, and now I need to wait for the rest of the characters to get their own books, and I'm impatient. I'm gonna need that expeditiously. But yeah, one of the best romances or books in general that I read this year. I just like how the couple communicated with each other. Nothing was ever confusing between them. Like, they always communicated, and I loved that for them. Like, good job. Okay, I'm Glad My Mom Died, Jeanette McCurdy, duh, on top of the pyramid. I think this was the only biography I read that, was it? I think it was, yeah. I think this was the only biography and memoir I read this year, and pulled at my heartstrings for obvious reasons, but I enjoyed it. I really did. One of my favorite books of this year, and Jeanette McCurdy deserves all the praise in the world for writing a gem like this. Next book I'm seeing is a part of a series, so I'm just gonna start from the first book in the series, The Summer I Turned Pretty. It goes in great but not top tier. I really did like this book. I think the first book is when the series peaked, in my opinion. Like I genuinely did like the first book. I read it for the first time this year. I know that a lot of people read The Summer I Turned Pretty books years ago, but my first time reading it was this year, and I enjoyed the first one. As for the second one, I don't know where to put this. I'm trying to think. I don't know if it deserves the same like ranking as the first one, so I'm just gonna put it here. I didn't dislike the second one. I just thought that it was a weird pace after this first one. You know, I think that Jenny Han fleshed out the characters really well in the second book, but I don't know. I think like the way that the plot moved around, it was just oddly paced. The last book in the series, You Were Good, I'm Waiting for You to Be Great. It wasn't even good. Wasn't even good. I, for one, did not like this book. I hated the way that the characters were depicted. It ruined all kind of character development for two characters in particular that I really, really loved. And yeah, I hated this book. Next book is Legend Born, on top of the pyramid, but you guys knew this already. I reread Legendborn to prepare for Bloodmarked. I usually don't include books that I reread in these things, but I'm gonna include it because it deserves to. Okay. More Than Words. I read this book, I think, in November, and I didn't like it, and it makes me so upset because I loved Archer's voice. If you guys don't know, Archer's voice and More Than Words, made by the same author. I loved Archer's voice, but More Than Words was just not good to me. It took me forever to get through it, and it's such a short book too. Like it just wasn't good for me. My Dark Vanessa. Great. I really, really like this book. I will not be rereading it anytime soon because it definitely triggered me in some ways, but I went in knowing what it was about, so I knew what I was getting into. But still, it was a heavy read, and one of the heaviest books that I read this year in terms of like stuff that was touched on inside of the book. But I did like it. Yeah, it was really good. One of Us Is Lying. You didn't stand out to me. You know, I've heard so much about this book, and I didn't like it. I read it to prepare to watch the show. If you guys want to check out those videos, I made those all the way at the beginning of the year. But yeah, I didn't like the book. I thought that it was kind of weird. I didn't like it all that much. One True Loves. You didn't stand out to me either, which is very disappointing because I love this author. She's coming out with a new book this year, I think in January, and I can't wait to read that one. But I just didn't like this one. Not that much. I thought it was okay, but it just didn't stand out to me all that much. Orange, I'm gonna put in great. I really did like Orange. I liked it a lot. I can't wait to read the second book. Pride and Prejudice, You Were Good, third overall, high score. I enjoyed myself while reading Pride and Prejudice. I think I enjoyed it because Rosamund Pike was narrating the audiobook. But the book itself was pretty decent. Like I would read Jane Austen again. I don't know when, but at some point in time I wouldn't be opposed to reading another Jane Austen book. Priory of the Orange Tree, you know, you didn't stand out to me. I don't know. Something about this book just really irks me. I think it's just because of how long it is and the build up just to like be kind of flat in the end. I don't know. I also expected a little bit more dragons. Not that many. Kind of upset about that, but I think the prequel for Priory of the Orange Tree comes out this year, and I've heard that there are more dragons in it, but I don't want to believe anything that you guys say anymore, so we'll see if I actually get to that. I'm pretty sure it's just as long as Priory of the Orange Tree, and Priory of the Orange Tree is a thick book, like very, very big, so we'll see if I get to that. Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell. Amazing. High quality writing. Amazing. One of my favorite books this year as well. I think about this book all the time. I love Savvy. I love the story that Taj McCoy told in this, and the message of it, and the fact that this is their first book is crazy to me, but that's besides the point. Yeah, it's really, really good. If you guys like a personal growth journey within a character and like a little bit of side romance, go read it. It's really good. School for Good and Evil, you didn't stand out to me either, which I'm very disappointed about, because I've been meaning to read this series for so long because I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. It's just that the first book wasn't all that good to me. Unpopular opinion, I thought that the movie was 10 times better than the book. I just think that the pacing for the book was so off. Like, it was just so freaking slow. It took me forever to get to like through it. I did not really like it all that much, but I'm willing to read the rest of the books in the series because I hear that it gets better with each book, but I'm not going to rush to read the others anytime soon. The Spanish Love Deception. You guys know how I feel about this book. Go watch my reading vlog. I did not like this book. It's actually one of the worst books I've read this year. Terms and Conditions. Okay, this is a part of a series, so where's the first book? The Fine Print. I really like this book. I love the Dreamland Billionaire series. It's actually one of the my favorite series I've started this year. Same with Terms and Conditions. I put it at the top of the pyramid because it's better than the first book, definitely. And the third book comes out this year, so I'm very excited to read that. The Atlas 6, you know, it's somewhere in between these three rankings, but it's in these three rankings for three completely different reasons. But I'm just gonna say it didn't stand out to me. This book, I have such mixed feelings about. Like, the characters I love, the premise of the story I adore, but the way that Olivia Blake writes it, no. Like, to say that it didn't stand out to me, that's not true. It did stand out to me. Like, I'd never read anything like that Atlas 6 before. It's just the fact that Olivia Blake's writing just it didn't hit me where it should have. And I feel like, I don't know, I want to be a part of the Atlas 6 hype, but sadly that's just not the case. Moving on. The Bride Test, you were good. 3rd overall high score. You know, I always enjoy books by Helen Huang. I think she's one of my favorite romance writers simply because I know that when I go into reading one of her books, I'm going to end up really liking it. So yeah, 3rd overall high score. And then of course, The Heart Principle. You guys already know this. It's one of my favorite books of all time. I think that The Heart Principle is the best book out of the Kiss Quotient series. And then the Kiss Quotient, I did read this year. Great, but not top tier. Yeah, so first book comes here, second book comes here, and then the third book is at the top. That's how I feel. The Do-Over. I read this book in December and I did not like it, and I'm so upset that I didn't like it. I'm so upset. If you guys don't know, this is the 4th book and the final book in the Miles High Club series about 4 rich brothers and their romances. And the 4th book should have been good, but I don't think the author knew what she was doing when she was writing it. It was just all over the place and not good at all. Like, I did not enjoy myself. I wish that it just ended with the 3rd book, because that 3rd book was the best one. Like, I felt like the books got better as they went on, and then the 4th book happened, and I felt like I was reading the 1st book of the series all over again, because the 1st book was bad. I didn't think it could get worse than the 1st book. And then you read about the 4th brother and he's just a complete asshole. Like, he's terrible. The Flat Share, you sadly did not stand out to me either, which is sad because I get like so many people recommending this to me. Like, people that I know, people online, like a lot of people love this book and I just didn't get the hype for it at all. You know what, same for the Foxhole Court. You didn't stand out to me either. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just the fact that I wasn't expecting so much talk about the Exy sport. I get that it's a sports fiction book, but I didn't think that I'd get so many descriptions about this made-up sport of Exy. Like, I was just not interested. But the drama was really good. It's just not good enough for me to want to read the rest of the series. Oh yeah, this is another Heartstopper book I read. This is the Heartstopper yearbook that Alice Oseman put out. Let's put it with the other ones that she put out I think a few months ago that I read and I bought. It's just like a cute book about like the process of her making the characters and like the character descriptions for each of them, and it's just like a good behind the scenes look of what it took to make the Heartstopper books. Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. You Were Good, 3rd overall high score. I liked this book a lot. Not really for the romance, though it is a romance book. I actually hated the romance. I thought that the guy was terrible. But I liked it because of the relationship that you got to see between the main character and her father, who was on his deathbed throughout the whole entire book, and how the relationship grew over time. I really enjoyed seeing that. Okay, Throttled. I read this in December. It is the first book in, I think, the Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher, and I liked it. I don't know where to put it though. I was in the mood to read more good romances, so I just instantly picked up Lauren Asher because the Dreamland Billionaire series is one of my favorites of this year. And I saw that she had like some other books, so I just decided why not. This book is really good. I think I'm gonna put it in You Were Good, 3rd overall high score, because I'm currently reading the other books in the series and they kind of got like they got a lot better. Like I just finished the 2nd book today. So freaking good, though it's not in here. So yeah, the first book was good, but I think the books are just gonna get better because I hear the most I hear about from the series is from the 3rd book. Can't wait to get to that. I think it's called Wrecked. Very excited. And then we have the Twisted series by Anna Huang, I think. Yeah, Twisted Love, my least favorite. It's You Were Great, the Twisted Games book. It's my favorite of the series. I really liked this book out of them all. And then Twisted Hate goes You Were Good overall. And then Twisted Lies, you didn't stand out to me. And it didn't. It was literally a carbon copy of this. Like, not the story, but the characters from the first book and this one, kind of exactly the same, especially the male love interest. Yeah, they kind of have the same personality, and I didn't like that. Last 2 books. Wild Seed Witch didn't stand out to me, which is sad, but I'm willing to read the rest of the books in the series. Because honestly, I didn't read the published version. I read the Archivist, so maybe what I didn't like about the book was changed in the published version, but I haven't read it. So yeah, for now it just gets You Didn't Stand Out to me, because it didn't. But the potential of the series is there. It's a good middle grade that I read this year. I liked it, but it's just some things need to be tweaked in order for me to like really get into it, you know? And then You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. Talk about an amazing book. Like, wow. Oh yeah, one of my favorite reads of this year. I went into it knowing nothing and I left feeling everything, and it was a great experience. I read it in like one sitting, I think. Oh, take me back. Oh, like that was such a good book. I had a great time with it. But yeah, I think that's everything I've read. This is all the 50 books. All of them. Most of these were romances, but I think if I didn't read romance this year, I wouldn't have read anything at all. Like I was really in my romance bag this year. Like that's kind of all I read. And I don't have any regrets because most of them that I read, I really did enjoy. If you guys enjoyed this video, thank you. Let me know what your favorite reads were down below and your least favorite reads, because I'm curious. I'm nosy. I want to know. If you want to follow me on my social media, here it is. I mostly interact on Twitter, but if you would like to follow me on my other social media, so they will be linked down in the description below. And yeah, I think that's it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.